Ladies and gentlemen, the show we've all been waiting for. Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present S.E.E Paranormal and Friends with your hosts, Kim Purvis and Allison Robinson. Live every Thursday night on Spreaker, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Be sure to check out their Facebook page, S.E.E Paranormal Busters.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another show of S.E.E Paranormal and Friends. We have another special guest tonight. We have Sarah from, is it S.E.E Paranormal? Is that how you say it? Okay. Yep. Perfect. All right. So, everybody, welcome Sarah to the show.
Thank you.
Let's start off with just, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself and how you got into the paranormal?
Absolutely. I actually have a different answer for that. I've been thinking about that question a lot lately, and I, for the longest time, thought for sure it was ghost hunters coming on TV, but I really think the first time I read Amityville Horror was what snagged me, and that was, who knows, like forever ago. So I have actively been part of the community for probably about 10 years, give or take. I always had kind of an interest in it, and then the community college here in Cedar Rapids had a class, paranormal class, and I went to that, and when it was over, I looked at my husband and said, why aren't we doing this? And we've been doing it ever since. My group, S.E.E Paranormal, is kind of dispersed all over the Midwest now, so we get together when we can, but we've got some people that still come and just hang out with us periodically. And then I am actually the paranormal director, which is just a title I gave myself, at the Granger House Victorian Museum here in Marion.
Awesome. How many people do you have in your group?
It started out, trying to think. There were 7 of us, and we had a couple people, actually 3 people moved to Minneapolis. We had another gal move to Chicago, and then one of the people in the group just decided he wasn't wanting to do it anymore, so that's fine with us. So we just... we do the flashlight tours at the Granger House. We try to do investigations, and we've got some friends of ours who are interested. We've kind of just been dragging them along with us, too. So I guess they're technically members of our group now, too.
Yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those light tours that you do?
Yeah, no, you're right. The flashlight tours at the Granger House are really great for people who are interested in the paranormal, but maybe not sure how to do an investigation or don't have other people to go on investigations with them. We supply equipment. Of course, if you have your own, you're welcome to bring it along. And then we kind of just teach you the way we do investigations. It's very interactive. And so far, we've had a really great response to it. I don't know that we've had any that haven't resulted in some really fun evidence. So they seem to be really popular. And like I said, I think they're great for people who are either just getting started or maybe have an interest but aren't ready to go spend a bunch of money on equipment and maybe aren't sure how to get out there and get going.
No, that's similar to what we do. We tell them if they want to ghost hunt, you rent the place, we'll pay our share, and we'll bring our equipment, and we'll let you do the ghost hunting.
Yes.
So that's what we kind of do.
I love that idea. I love that idea. And it's nice, too, to be able to help people. Because, anybody who's interested in this, we all had to start somewhere.
Right.
And those of us who have been doing it for a while, it's great that we can reach out and help those that are kind of new to the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they all want to go with us, and we've got 7 to our group. And you get in some of those places, that's too many.
Yeah.
And so we can't take everybody all the time. So that's what we decided. You guys rent the place, we'll let you ghost hunt. We'll teach you if you have any questions and everything. So that's how we do it.
I love that idea. Absolutely. And of course, I don't think we would ever say no to anybody if they had that idea either. But no, I love that you're doing that.
Let's see.
Why don't we go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the Granger house.
Yeah.
Can you give us some history on the Granger house?
Because we're coming there in August.
Yeah.
So excited. The Granger house, the original portion of the house, which is currently our dining room and the bedroom above it, were actually built in 1848. And the rest of the house was just gradually built on after that. We also have a carriage house that I believe was built maybe 1870s. And that's about when the house was finished, the early 1870s. The Granger family, which at that time was Earl and Dora, moved in, I want to say 1872. Rented it for a while, ended up buying it, and their son, Arthur, was the last descendant to live in the house, and he left just about 100 years later. So that's why it's called the Granger house. And it's the Granger family. They weren't rich or anything like that. We're certainly not like Bruce Moore in Cedar Rapids.
Right.
This is just kind of a way to experience what Victorian life was like for a middle-class family, and they're probably upper middle class. But a family like any of the rest of us living in Marion at the time. And when you walk in the door, it's like going back to the 1800s. It's a beautiful house. We have so many artifacts in the house that belonged to the Granger family,
Wow.
which you can't ask for a better setup for a haunted location.
No, you
No
can't.
kidding.
No. And the great thing about the Granger house is almost everybody who's come in, teams especially that come in and investigate, they always tell us how, like, it feels like home. It's very calm. It's not like some of the places where you feel maybe nervous or anxious or like something might not want you there. It's just a very good feeling. It's great for people who, like I said, are starting out or looking for something a little bit more tame. We're certainly not like Edinburgh Manor where you've got who knows what coming at you.
Yeah.
This is just very family-like. The carriage house is just as haunted as the main house itself. We seem to have different, I guess we'll call them people, different people out in the carriage house than we actually have in the house. And interestingly enough, they don't seem to go back and forth very often. The people we encounter in the carriage house, we rarely, if ever, interact with them in the house. So it's cool, though.
Yeah.
Definitely. I had a question here. Okay, I think you guys were using your SLX camera in the carriage house. I think, or maybe it wasn't, but the thing was waving back at you and then started coming forward to you and back.
Yeah.
What was that like when you first saw it, And
Yeah, so that is my husband's favorite tool is the SLS camera. And we actually get a lot of interaction with that. We've had where it looks like somebody hanging in a doorway before, but like you mentioned, it's when you've got something in front of you that you can see, which we've never really been able to do before. And then you ask them, wave at me or tell me where to go, and they are actually doing what you're asking. That is amazing. that piece of equipment blows my mind. I tell my husband all the time, it kind of takes the fun out of investigating, though, because it's really easy to know where they're at now. But it is really cool. When we first got it, I actually questioned the validity of it. But we've had so many experiences where, like I said, we've said, hey, can you wave at me? And they will. Or can you point to where you want us to go? And they'll do that. Or can you reach out and touch my hand? And they'll do that. I mean, it's hard to refute that. I suppose maybe there is a way to fake it. I have never heard anybody give me a logical explanation for it yet. But so I believe in that piece of equipment. And it's exciting to be able to physically see what you're interacting with, who you're interacting with, even if they do just look like a stick person.
I know. I love ours, too.
Oh, yeah. Me, too.
But the last time we were at Edinburgh, it was so cold it wouldn't run because it was so cold. It would drain the battery instantly.
And that building gets so cold.
Oh, yes, it does.
It snowed that night, too, while we were there.
Brave souls for going in like that then.
And down in the basement, they had water, so they had the fans going, so it made it even colder.
And there was ice on the ground. So you had to be careful not to slip.
So you're like ice rink around down there, probably.
Yes, pretty much.
The things we do to try to interact, right?
I know. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
What was your most interesting at the Granger house that you found?
At the Granger house, we really kind of believe that it's mainly the family in the house, although there's lots of other people that you'll encounter there. I do monthly, I'll call them classes, even though they're more discussion type. But I do monthly classes called S.E.E the Paranormal. And I can't remember what we were talking about that night, but I had on a long duster jacket, and I kept feeling something tugging at the back of my jacket. So I kept like kind of swatting my hand like you would if your little kid was back there. And my husband was sitting parallel to me, and little did I know, he's actually watching the bottom of my jacket come out, and he can physically see it yank.
Oh, so wow, that's awesome.
That was pretty interesting, to say the least. Gosh, we've had, it's become so kind of normal now that I hate to say, sometimes I probably take the activity in the house a little for granted. I'm just so accustomed to it now. But, we've had great experiences. I'm definitely an EVP girl, or I love the Ghost Box. We actually use an app now instead of using the Ghost Box, but we get great conversations through that. And actually, there's a group that has only been together maybe about a year or so. It's WTF Investigations. And they came to the Granger house the first time, and John, who's a member, was telling us how he thought Ghost Box was garbage, didn't believe in it. Fast forward, they've been there 3 times now, and he is all sold on the Ghost Box because of the interaction they've gotten on it. The direct answers they've gotten, and they've got videos up on YouTube, and they get great answers to their questions. It's exciting, and it's pretty amazing.
I love it when you use a piece of equipment and you change a person's mind on that equipment.
Yes.
It works so nicely.
Absolutely. It makes me laugh now because he was trying to talk me out of it. I'm like, dude, you got to try it. You got to give it a second. And he did. And now he's all in on it. So
nice. Very nice.
We use the app Spiritus a lot.
That's what we use. Yeah. I hate listening back to a Ghost Box on review. It drives me insane. I mean, we get good interaction with that, but it's so much easier to listen to the Spiritus than the Ghost Box.
The main thing we use the Ghost Box for is we put the headphones on and blindfold and ask questions that way. That's when we use the Spirit Box. But we use Spiritus more than anything.
Yeah. And I've got I actually have a real-time EVP recorder.
Yeah.
I
Those are
love
nice.
doing that one too, because it's awesome when people are having a conversation and all of a sudden you hear something that they can't.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they can always tell because I perk right up and they're like, "What'd you hear?" Definitely. Uh-oh.
Huh. Something's going off in the background.
The weather radio's going off.
Oh, the weather radio.
You ask her a question, I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah, with the
I was like,
heat,
what's that noise?
I saw that we were supposed to be getting some weather, so.
Oh, boy. Gosh, we don't need any more rain.
Well, and I saw portions of the state were going to get about an inch or more tonight, so
Oh, fun.
it's going to be a soggy night.
Oh, great. I'm never going to get my yard mowed at this rate.
Me either.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. You've been to the Periwinkle Manor?
Yes.
How was
Yes.
that for you? I've never been there. I've heard of it, but I've never been there yet.
Yeah, I am actually originally from Tama, so Chelsea is really close to Tama. And gosh, I'm trying to think of how we actually paired up with Jody, but I think I just drove through Chelsea one time and saw the bed and breakfast, and the second I saw it, I knew we had to go in there and investigate. So we reached out to Jody, who is the proprietor, and she welcomed us in. We did an investigation. Actually, the Marshalltown newspaper even came, and they had a reporter investigate along with us for a little bit.
I think I remember that.
Yeah,
I think so.
She had an experience as well. She was feeling water drip on her face. So I think she left a believer as well. And then, gosh, time goes so fast. I think it was 2 summers ago. Jody actually asked us to participate in an event with her towards the end of summer. And so we had a whole weekend where people could come. We had 3 different places in Chelsea that we investigated. The Periwinkle, she's got a shop that we use the upstairs, and then the cemetery. Had great activity in all the places.
Oh, wow.
And we are, I'm excited to say, putting together another event for this summer as well. So it should be
awesome.
fun. Yeah. It's a great place.
I keep watching for that one.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so close.
Jody had told us she thought that they had kids in the house, and we used the SLS camera up on the 3rd floor, and sure enough, we had you could tell they were little kid sized. We even had one of them riding the rocking horse that's in one of the rooms too. So yeah, we had a great experience at the Periwinkle.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Yeah, I've heard about it, and I just haven't been there or anything, but I think it'd be fun to do.
Yeah,
we've been trying to get over there, but we just haven't.
It's not that far.
Yeah, no, Jody's super sweet, and she's very accommodating. She kind of has, I don't know, it's a little eclectic inside, but once you get in there, there's new things to look at every time, and she has a bunch of great stuff in there.
We'll have to get that checked out.
Yes, we will. Definitely.
Yes.
I was going through some of your stuff, and I want to hear about this ghost cat.
Oh, yeah. So we did an investigation at a private house in Lynn County, and the girl was pretty convinced that her house was haunted. We ended up going in and did an investigation, and I tell you what, you want to talk about cold that night. I think it was like -5 or something. It was so awful out, but thankfully she had heat, of course, so we were good. But we ended up, one of the members of my team, her name is Michaela, we call her Ghost Whisperer, because every picture that we have that has anything paranormal in it, she has taken. And this was no exception. She was using a full spectrum camera on burst mode, and it's up on my S.E.E Paranormal page, or I'm sorry, S.E.E Paranormal Sarah on Facebook. I'll let everybody kind of check it out for themselves. To me, it looks exactly like a cat jumped up on her bed next to her pillow. One of the members of our team is an engineer, so when I tell you he has gone through every option, trust me on that. We have no better explanation for it. It looks exactly like a cat to us. So there's 3 pictures. It does look like it moves, but she actually did have a cat that passed away and was ecstatic to hear that the cat was still hanging around the house. So we
wow.
made her night by finding those pictures and giving her that reassurance. So she was happy. She had mentioned she had of course told us after the fact, but she had mentioned that it sometimes felt like there was a cat walking across her bed. So there was.
Oh, jeez. Nice.
Let's see.
Oh,
there it goes again.
There it goes again. Oh, gosh.
Let's see. You did a thing down there, a Paracon down at, did the Mineral Springs Mall. Did you find anything in there?
You know what? I have not investigated there yet.
You haven't?
No, and I need to.
Yes.
So Troy Taylor puts on, it's called the Dead of Winter Festival, and asked us to come and speak. So we gave a little bit of the history and the hauntings of the Granger house. I explored the Mineral Springs a little bit, but not nearly enough to satisfy my curiosity. But he actually has a shop in the mall there and has assured me that it is definitely haunted, but there are no demons there, contrary to what Mr. Baggins told the world.
Yeah.
Everything's demon to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So he assured me definitely haunted, but definitely safe. No demons to be found in the building. But yeah, so it's definitely a place that I need to investigate.
I can just see him walking in the Granger house. There's a demon in there.
Oh, right? Yeah, exactly. I'm sure.
And he'd be cussing and he'd be pissing off, what's her name, Dora?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't cuss at the Granger house. She don't like that. I've heard that.
Yes. Yep. She's very proper Victorian lady. So anytime, and trust me, I've got the mouth of a sailor. So
me too.
I do a lot of apologizing.
We might have to have a muzzle for Alice.
Yeah, we might.
You never realize how much you swear until you go in there and then catch yourself. And of course, I always catch it like once it's 3/4 of the way out my mouth already. So, yeah. So far, she seems to be pretty forgiving of me, though. So that's good.
That's good.
What about the Museum of the Shadows?
Oh, gosh. We went to the, I don't know if it was called the Omaha Paracon or what it was called, a couple months ago, and stayed at a hotel. And the girl at the front desk had actually, we told her why we were in Omaha. She mentioned to us that there was a haunted museum in a town not far from there. And we ended up going and checking it out. I can't remember what it cost to get in, but it was relatively cheap. But it is packed with stuff that has stories about where it came from, the history, why people gave it to the couple that owns the place. And they will rent you equipment. There were some people that had EMF detectors that were in the rooms with us, and those things were going crazy. We ended up using the Spiritus in a couple different places, and we're getting really interesting conversation there as well. They do have a room that there's a ton of stuff in it that they believe has a demonic attachment to it. You can go in there. They tell you not to touch anything. So trust, I did not touch anything. But I don't know. I don't know about the whole demonic attachment, but it was still pretty cool to go in there and see that stuff. And like I said, I still didn't touch it. I wasn't going to risk that.
Right.
But they do allow you to investigate there. You can rent the place. Definitely want to do that sometime. And I know that a couple weeks ago they did an experiment where they were locking people in different parts of the building by themselves and recording it. And it might be on YouTube. I haven't checked to see, but I wanted to do it so bad and my schedule just didn't allow it. But it's definitely a place I want to get back to. And I tell everybody, if you have had any urge to go look at Zach Bagans' museum in Vegas, go to this instead. It's closer to home, it's cheaper, and Zach Bagans is not there. Perfect. But yeah, and I was shocked that it was something that I had never heard of before. But they are working on a TV series, and I want to say maybe the Travel Channel was where they were working with, but I could be completely off on that. But I guess they've also been featured on some paranormal shows as well. So
nice.
I encourage everybody to check it out because it's a very cool place. They've got lots of really awesome stuff in it.
Yeah, I've heard of the place. I just never have looked it up, to get any information on it yet.
Yeah, the girl at the front desk told us she was scared to go, but she encouraged us to give it a shot. I'm glad we did. It was a very fun place to go.
I have I missed this question earlier. What was the most intense paranormal experience you have ever had anywhere?
Probably the basement at the Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. Mr. Baggins has been there as well. But we were there for a public event. And I mean, this was like when we had pretty close to just kind of started getting together and doing investigations. And the guy who does the equipment for Ghost Adventures was one of the speakers. Mm-hmm. And he was down in the basement when they were allowing people to kind of do their own investigations. And he said to us, go back in that back room. There's no windows in this room. He said, go back in that back room, turn off anything that emits any type of light. So turn off your recorders, turn off anything you've got that has any kind of light on it, and just sit there. He's like, you're going to be shocked about what happened. And so there were 4 of us kind of sat in a semicircle, and we had shadow people. It sounds so fake me telling you this, but I put this on everything. We had shadow people literally running up to us and getting within inches of our face and then darting back into the dark. And they're darker than the dark down there. We're in a room in a basement, no windows. You literally cannot see your hand in front of your face. And something darker than that is like rushing you. Oh. It took everything I had not to like scream and run.
Yeah, I'd probably shit my pants.
Well, and we had to turn off everything that emitted light so we could have the experience. And of course, we don't have anything to show for it, but it was absolutely insane. And something I literally told my husband, I'm trying so hard not to freak out right now because it's intense. I mean, you've got these humanoid figure looking shadows running up to you and within inches, and just a lot of different other stuff with it. Almost looked like blue smoke going through the air. I guess I don't know what to call it. It was just crazy. We saw balls of light. I mean, balls emitting their own light, so like a true orb.
Right.
Wow.
It was intense. So if you can get to, gosh, from here the drive is so long. It's about an hour north of Minneapolis. But if you can get to the Palmer House Hotel, and Kelly will let you in the basement, do it. that whole place was really cool. As a hotel, I will give my disclaimer. As a hotel, it is awful. There are no doors on any bathroom anywhere in that building, which is the most bizarre thing to me.
Oh my gosh, what?
Yeah. Oh,
are they like is it like a public bathroom? Do you have to share it with everybody else, or do you have them?
Yeah. So like in the one downstairs, there's a door to get into the bathroom, but then like no doors on the stalls. Like there's curtains, and then in your room, in your hotel room, there's nothing. Oh my gosh. I know 2 people in our group, male and female, ended up sharing a hotel room because they were like 2 beds, it'll be fine.
Right.
Well, to find out there's no door on the bathroom, we had to go buy a shower curtain for them, and we
my gosh.
Oh, we had to go buy pillows because pillows were awesome or awful. They like non-existent.
Oh,
but
gosh.
all of that was actually really worth it for the experiences we had. The first night we were there, we were down in the basement again, doing a vigil, and I thought I had heard a little girl, and I thought she had said mommy, and I asked if anybody else had heard her, and nobody else had, and I didn't say anything because to hear a little girl say mommy just felt really cliche to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't hear anything. I'm like, so I just kind of let it go. And when we were done with our vigil, we went up to the bar, and Marty and Michael Perry, who are amazing psychics, were up there, and Michael came up or I actually heard him saying Sarah, and I usually don't answer when people are just randomly saying Sarah because it's like the most popular name ever.
Right.
And nobody was answering him, so finally I just did, and I was like, yeah, are you looking for me? And he asked me if I had heard the little girl. And I hadn't said anything. He had no way of knowing that I had heard her. And
wow.
I said, well, actually I did. And he said, well, she was up here while I was sitting at the bar trying to get my attention. And then she said that you had heard her downstairs.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
So when I tell you that whole weekend was full of experiences, it really was. It's a crazy place.
Oh, it sounds fun though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Take your own pillow. Take something to put over the bathroom door. And you'll be okay.
Do you have any places you want to talk about yet?
Let's see here. Oh, did you guys go to the Franklin Hotel?
We did. Yeah.
How was that? Because I have read about that, but that's another one.
I actually was hoping that it would be a little bit more active for the history of the place. Now, obviously, the paranormal is not something you can like turn on and off. So, we could have just been there on an off night. We had a few experiences, and we actually had one of my good friends with us who is incredibly gifted, sensitive, and he was able to kind of connect with some people there. There is a legend of Lily, who is reported to be a prostitute, or was a prostitute. And I've heard a couple different stories on how she died. I think it usually comes down to suicide. And that's pretty about any hotel that has some history. You can usually find a suicide by a prostitute. The fact that this hotel has been such a central part of Strawberry Point from its beginning leads me to surmise that it probably never had any prostitutes, because if you were going to go visit a hooker, you probably wouldn't want to do it in the middle of town to where everybody might see you. And the way Lily got her name actually was was a blind gentleman, because they actually, people live at the Franklin Hotel as well. They have rooms to rent, and then there's people who actually live there.
Okay.
Blind gentleman who lived there, and he would smell the scent of like Lily of the Valley perfume. And that's how Lily got her name. So we actually, through our interactions, believed that we made contact with that female. Without my notes, I could not tell you her name right off the top of my head. But she indicated to us that she had actually been a nurse and that her husband, there's a barber shop that used to be connected there, and her husband had actually cut hair there. So that's her tie to the hotel. So she did tell us that she doesn't mind the rumors that go around about her, but yeah, she wasn't a prostitute.
Let's see here. Wolf in chat, he wants to know if there's any place that you won't go back.
Probably not yet that I have run into. In a couple weeks, we are going to Waverly Hills, so I'm going to tell you to hold on to that question. Who knows what's going to happen there. But so far, I don't think there is. I think I think that a lot of people in the field probably feel the same, but I really haven't had any place that I've been scared. My curiosity kind of gets the best of me, and I keep wanting to know more, and I want to learn more. And the places I've been, I think they pique my curiosity. I guess that's the best way to put it. I've never been anywhere where I felt like I was in danger. I can tell you the basement at Edinburgh Manor has kind of creeped me out sometimes, and I feel very uncomfortable down there, but not so much that I wouldn't go back there or I wouldn't go back down there. I maybe wouldn't go down there by myself just because I am a chicken sometimes, but other than that, and to be perfectly honest, I hate mice, and we've run into mice down there before.
Definitely lots of mice down there.
We caught one on the our camera.
Our cameras we set up. You could see this little mouse running along the wall in his little eyes.
And about that point, I'm done. So. But otherwise, no, I think I've been pretty lucky to go to some really great places, but none that have made me feel like I can't or wouldn't want to go back there yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see here. What else do I have? Let's see. How about there was a theater you went to? I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
The Waiting Theater.
Yes.
So that is in Toledo, which is connected to Tama. And growing up, that Tama Toledo, super small, even combined, they're super small. So this is a theater that's been around, I think 1911 was when it was built. It still has a beautiful painted scenery screen that comes down over the movie screen. I mean, it's like going back to 1950 and watching movies. It's a beautiful theater with a lot of great history to it. But the community, they do a lot of events there. So like we did our school plays there. We did concerts there, like for band and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember people always talking about how haunted it was. And even like standing backstage, there was one kid, his name was Jason, and his mom was really active with the theater, and he would always tell me, don't look up because the ghost is up there walking along the catwalk or something. Always creeped me out. So I decided to reach out to them, and actually come to find out the head of their board is really good family friends with my family. So she welcomed us in to investigate. We did so with author Adrian Lee. He came along as well, and we're able to investigate that place. As far as I know, we are the first and only team who has ever investigated there. We ended up making contact with two main people, and this is kind of where I tell people, if you don't believe in the ghost box, this is kind of where I hope to change your mind. One of the gentlemen, his name was Emmanuel Dvorak, and he come to find out, was actually a part of Toledo. I've been able to find him in old census records, and there's no way that I would have ever come up with that name by myself had he not given it to us. We came in contact with another gentleman, and he ended up giving us his mother's name. He was in the military. He told us where he had gone, and I was able to find him in old census records as well. And everything, all the information that we were given via the ghost box, I was able to corroborate by old historical records. Adrian actually wrote about it in his book. It's Mysterious Midwest is the title of the book, and it's one of the chapters in there, our experiences there. And I know that actually I got an email last week from them wanting some more details so they can tell their guests about our experiences there too. So it's really cool. I told them we would love to get back there and do another investigation, and I wouldn't even mind, trying to do a public. Gosh, my dog is coughing. I'm sorry if you can hear.
That's okay.
Hey, that's okay.
I would love to be able to lead people on a public investigation in there sometime to help raise money for the theater. Because awesome. It's a treasure. I mean, we're so used to going to like these theaters now that have like 14 different screens or whatever. Right. And this is really old school, but I would hate to see anything happen to that theater because it's a nice piece of history. And that, that's the thing too with the paranormal. It's made me appreciate history so much in our historical buildings, like we were talking about earlier. Anything I can do to help keep these places active and still standing, for that matter. Right. I would love to contribute to. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we can put that together sometime.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Really You'll have to let us know. We'll definitely show up.
Oh, yeah, we would go. We'd be there for sure. Excuse me.
On your Facebook page, you did a place, you said it was part of the Underground Railroad, but you couldn't disclose the place. Did you find anything when you investigated there?
We did. So my friend Brian, who's the sensitive I was talking about earlier, he actually does kind of, I'm not a psychic, so I don't know how all this works, but he connects with a place remotely prior to our visit. So he connected with that place a week or two prior to us going to investigate. And he shocked them when we got there because he was able to tell them, how the house is set up, where things happened. And he had made contact with some of the spirits that were there. We're still trying to get all of our evidence together from reviews and so forth. But I can tell you I used my real-time EVP recorder that night, and I was definitely picking up EVPs as we were talking. We had a lot of interaction with our equipment. I think it was safe to say that they were a little apprehensive of us because this place had never been investigated before, so they're not used to people coming in and talking to them directly. Usually, I'm sure it's talking about them that they're used to. So it's definitely a place we want to get back. And that, just like the theater, is another place that we're hoping we can kind of help them raise some money too. Right now, not everybody on their board of directors is completely on board with what we do. Right. I think too much TV watching sometimes ruins it for the rest of us.
Oh, definitely.
But
they quit watching those TV programs.
Exactly. We had three board members investigate with us, and they were very impressed with how we did things and very relieved, I think, to see that we aren't like it is on TV, that it's nothing like that. So I do think if they can change a couple more minds, that this is some place that we'll be able to go again, and then maybe other people will be able to experience as well. Because like I've told some other museums, one of the greatest things that the Granger House ever did was open their doors to the paranormal community, because it has made so much money for the house, and all of the money that we charge for our investigations goes directly back into the house. And we have been able to put some great things towards the house that we wouldn't have been able to otherwise. And I hope that this museum also is able to experience that. Just got to change a few more minds, but I have faith that
eventually you'll get them changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Wolf had another question.
Okay. We have another question from Wolf. He wants to know, have you ever gone someplace that you've gotten scared, like really scared?
In the basement of the Palmer House Hotel, of course. I stuck it out. I put my big girl pants on and I stuck it out. None of us went screaming from the room, thankfully, but that was pretty intense. And I would have to say Edinburgh Manor as well, but sometimes it's not the paranormal activity that always gets you, gets the best of you. I will tell you, the first time I ever heard a disembodied voice was at Edinburgh, and that caught me off guard a little bit, and I must say I was a little unnerved by it. The first time you hear something like that and you have nothing to attribute it to it's a little freaky. I'm not going to lie.
A little bit.
And especially when it's a direct answer to a question that you just asked. It was insane. So that kind of unnerved me a little bit. Now I'm like pleading to hear that again. Which I will just side note for anybody who hasn't been to the manor. We hear disembodied voices out there all the time. So if you want to experience it, that's a great place to go. But we went there. And we've been there, gosh, almost a dozen times, I think. It's just such a great place, and you just really never know what you're going to get. And our experiences are different every time we go there.
So is ours.
Yeah. We saved the boiler room, actually, for the last area of the night, and we all purposely stayed out of that area until the end. We went in there, and gosh, I want to say there was probably about 7 or 8 of us, maybe. And we were all sitting around in there having a vigil, and I started hearing scratch. I was sitting kind of on the fire escape door. I don't know that that's what it is, but there's little steps that lead up to a fire escape. Right. And sitting on those stairs, and I heard, scratching on the door behind me. Of course, I was thinking it was a mouse, so I'm like begging my husband to come get me because I'm freaking out. And he did get me, and then we continued on going, and we were listening to the furniture above us slide across the floor.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up having a trap cam, or like the cameras that hunters use.
Yep. Trail cams.
And it took several pictures, and there's nobody in it, and all the other pictures that night have one of us in it. So it was shooting off pictures during the same time we were hearing the furniture move.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And then as we're listening to that, all of a sudden we start to hear voices, and I mean, it sounded like there were probably 20 people outside. And that freaked us out more than anything. So we went running upstairs to confront them, and there was nobody there. We used our thermal camera, and there was nobody hiding anywhere. I mean, there's no sign of anybody. So then my husband went and checked where the door I had been sitting in front of. And there's actually a locked door that you have to go through to get to the door I was sitting next to. So there's really no way that anything could have gotten to that door to start scratching on it. While that was a very cool experience, it definitely is another one that I would say kind of unnerves you a little bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Edinburgh, my experience was, as you go down the stairs and you turn towards the kitchen, you got that little closet right there.
Yes.
That door is hard to move. And it swung open and hit me in the back. I was just picking up my cameras. We were unhooking equipment.
Yeah. And that's I mean, that's a great summary of just what that place is like. You just really never know.
Every time we go, we get something different.
But we have a lot. I was listening to my recorder, and we went there, in March? Was it March this year?
March, when it was cold.
Yeah.
There was
only 3 of us. Yeah, there was only 3 of us there. And you can hear us leave, and then all of a sudden you hear a whole bunch of stuff just moving and scraping across the floor on the recorder. It went on for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yes. That place, I mean, I wouldn't suggest that to everybody, but if you want a place that is going to be really active, that is definitely the place I would suggest to people. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's hard to get into now, of course, that Ghost Adventures has been out there, but
yeah, it's taken us 2 years to get in again, so
yeah.
Yeah. So, well, and we usually try to make at least one trip out there a year, and we didn't go last year because we couldn't find a date that was open and that worked for us. So, and I'm a self-admitted princess. I am not going to go when you guys do. It's that cold. So, we went in November one time, and it was like the beginning of November, and we were so stinking cold that that's like all I could concentrate on. So I would much rather be hot. We have gone in August when it is a bazillion degrees outside, and I'd rather sweat my butt off than be cold. So.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, we usually stop about October.
Yeah.
And we usually start back up in March if the weather's good, but this time it didn't cooperate.
No, it didn't. It was very cold.
Yeah, we get snow.
Good news is Granger House has heat and air conditioning, so...
Oh, nice. That's
we'll always take care of.
Very nice. So we'll have some air conditioning when we come there in August.
I have another... What is on your bucket list that you really, really would like to do?
Oh my God, I am so excited about going to Waverly. We need to sit down and kind of come up with a game plan of how we're going to investigate that place because it's so stinking huge. But that has always been at the top of my list. So I can't even tell you how excited I am to get to go experience that. We'll be there the first Monday in June.
Cool.
We did Missouri State last summer, and that was awesome. But now I'm like, need to go to like all these prisons. So like, if it is one of the prisons that that's been on any of the shows, is probably on the top of my list. Because that
Eastern Penitentiary,
yes,
Pennsylvania.
my God. Yes, I'm right there with you, girl. And then of course you've got, oh my God, and then my brain goes blank. Basically, any place that's been a prison with any kind of history, because that is also another place that you really don't know what you're going to come into contact with. And I don't mean that in like a scary negative way. I mean it more so that it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
And you're bound to have an experience that you've not had before, and that's really, I think, why most of us stay in this. So, most definitely, that's what I'm looking for, I guess.
Okay. Viola School. What was that like? I saw some pictures where the floor looked like it was gone.
Yes. Unfortunately, once the school shut down, the school itself changed hands several times, and nobody really took care of it the way that they should have. So the roof had started to cave in, which left it exposed to the elements. So, like you said, there's places where there was no floor. There were classrooms that had trees growing in the middle of them. When we investigated there, we had to kind of stay in the stairwell because that was really the only safe area of the school itself. The gym, because it was on the flat ground, we could investigate there too. It's so hard to wrap your mind around going somewhere that is basically in ruin and having EMF detection like everywhere. I mean, it's so crazy. The second we walked in there with our equipment, it was going nuts. We've gotten disembodied voices. We've gotten, like I said, EMF hits everywhere. EVPs out there. The owner, her name is Heidi. She is actually working on a project now to restore the place and turn it into a community center. And cool. she actually did a really cool thing. She invited us, because we had been out there several times, she invited us out to kind of talk to the spirits that were there and let them know what she was doing and ask them not to leave, to stay. And so we kind of had a little pep rally and talked about, how much Heidi appreciates them being there, and she really wanted them to feel like this was still their space, even though it was changing. So hopefully once that project is done, she'll be able to open that up to other groups then, and it'll be a lot more safe. You'll be able to investigate out there with not having to wear like rubber boots to get through the
Well, I just seen it on your Facebook, and it said, there's no floor there.
We took some really cool pictures out there because literally there's no roof to some of the areas. But I think the last time we were out there, we encountered Mama Raccoon and her babies. So we ended up having to run from that. But yeah, it was a really cool place. I wish they would have taken better care of it. I'm sure Heidi wishes that as well. We tried to do a fundraiser investigation out there a couple years ago, and unfortunately the county shut us down the day before. So that sucks, but
yeah, bummer.
Yeah, she's still got good things coming though.
That's good. We do have another question. We have Aaron from KPRS. Wants to know, what's your favorite audio and video evidence you've ever captured?
Anytime I can get audio evidence, I am all over it. I love EVPs. I will sit and listen. I tell people all the time, when you're reviewing audio, it can take 2 hours for every hour of audio that you've recorded, just because you have to go back and listen to parts. And I have no problem sitting through like 8 hours of audio if I've got a couple EVPs in there, because I get so excited hearing them. And each one, in my opinion, is exciting as the last. Actually, I do have one specific one. My husband and I were in Long Beach, California. My uncles actually live out there, and they purchased us tickets to the paranormal investigation on the Queen Mary.
Oh,
and, yeah, it was cool. We were in the pool area, which is a notoriously haunted location, and we were in the dressing room, and we were all kind of sitting in our own little stalls, and there were 4 of us, and then the security guard. Security guard was sitting outside of the dressing area. But the 4 of us, 3 of us started to hear a woman screaming. It sounded like the soundtrack to a slasher movie. She was screaming bloody murder. It really, and I'm a emergency dispatcher, so, these are like the calls that I hate getting because somebody's in trouble and bad things are happening, but that's exactly what it was. It sounded like this woman was being murdered. And the guy who leads the place said he had never heard that before. We searched all over, and I'm telling you what, the first time we heard her screaming, we probably heard her scream for maybe 45 seconds or more, and that is really long for a disembodied voice. But over the next 15 minutes, we kept hearing her intermittently. We looked everywhere, and in that part of the ship, you're away from the guest rooms, and the walls are metal, and they're so thick, there's no way sound could travel down there. The guy who leads it, who of course has done this a million times, was absolutely baffled. The other cool thing about it, like I said, one of the people that was in the dressing area with us did not hear it. And then the security guard never heard it either.
Wow.
And God, I wish on our audio, which we had it recorded, you can very faintly hear her screaming, but it's nothing to the extent of what it was that night.
Yeah.
So that's definitely my favorite audio. My favorite picture, I would say, that we have probably ever taken, and I, again, defer back to our little ghost whisperer, Michaela. We were at Belvoir Winery in, is it Liberty, Missouri?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we were there with Strange Escapes, which if you can ever do something with them, do, because it's a really fun event. Amy Bruni and Adam Berry are just as funny and just as nice as they are on TV.
Oh, yeah.
We met them up in Minnesota at a Paracon, and we've got them on. They follow us on Twitter all the time.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, and they're super down-to-earth people, just as great as they are on TV. But in the winery, there's 4 different buildings, and one of them used to be an orphanage. And in some of the rooms, there's no floor, so you have to stay in the hallway. You can't actually go in the room. And Michaela took a picture of one of the doors, and I shit you not, there is a little boy looking through the slate in the door.
Wow.
There's a piece of the door missing, and you can see his face. I'll put it on my S.E.E Paranormal Sarah Facebook page later tonight, so I'll let other people make their decisions. But all of us agreed it most certainly looks like a little boy looking through the door.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, our hour has come.
Yes.
And we appreciate it. We would like to have you back on after you've been to
yeah, Waverly, yes.
Waverly there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I will be happy to update y'all on how that
we
goes.
gotta hear all about that. I'm going to go through here real quick and give a quick shout out to everyone that was in chat tonight. We had Matt, and then of course we had Kim. We had Aaron from KPRS. Wolf. Scroll through. And Shay was in here tonight, and then of course Nicole had said hi through Shay, so we'll give her a shout out as well. But thank you everybody that was in chat tonight, and thank you for being on our show tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And just a minute, we want one more shout out here. I gotta get to it.
You gotta get one more shout out?
One more shout out right there.
Oh yeah, I forgot here. Real quick. Excuse me. Okay, for this is Paranormal Bully Busters. If you or a loved one are a victim of bullying, no matter your age or circumstances, please call the number below or go to the website, get some help. You can go to www.stopoutbullying.org or 877-NO-BULLY. And you can also donate to that the Stomp Out Bully organization on the website. All right, thank you, and we will be here next week. Let's see, Matt says, have a great night, and so does Wolf. Thank you, everyone, for listening and interacting in our live chat. Oh, there you go. That's you. I was like, oh, wait. All right. Have a good night. And then if you just want to hang on for 1 second here.
Sounds good.
Thank you for listening to S.E.E Paranormal and Friends. Be sure to check out Kim and Allison on Facebook at S.E.E Paranormal Busters.